Hello friends, this is Growl. In this video we're going to be talking about the Healer Mage Tower. Just came out yesterday, or today maybe, in the EU. And I got to experience this for the first time actually. Never played it in Legion, never played it in PTR, and just completed it on two different characters. A Resto Shaman, a Paladin, and then almost a Mistweaver, but I got a little tired so I called it quits. And while I was doing it, a lot of people came into my chat, was struggling. They were saying, yo, we need some tips, help us out. So I thought I'd put together a video where I talk about some of the mechanics and some of the ways I dealt with the mechanics. I hope this video will be helpful no matter what healer you play, but I'm going to use the footage for my Paladin clear just because it was the first one that I did. So to answer a few questions, first, if you want to do it, you actually have to go to the Mage Tower down in Broken Shore. You go to the Broken Isles, then you go to Broken Shore, and then it's Deliverance Point right here. This is the flight path you go to. There is an inn with a mailbox and flight path and everything down there. As for your gear, no borrowed power works. So no Shadowlands legendaries, no Legion legendaries, no conduits, no artifacts, no anything. It's just your gear is what you have. That's the only borrowed power, and the gear is also scaled down to item level 50. So your gear doesn't item level doesn't matter too much. It's mainly just sort of stat priority, but different stats are good for different things. There are some small ways to cheese the system, like using old crafted gear that has multiple sockets or, you know, things like that. But for the most part, your gear doesn't really matter and your stats don't matter too much. Generally speaking, if you're struggling with some of the healing portions of it, you want to up your mastery a little bit. And then if you're struggling with some of the damage portions, then you drop your mastery and try and get more of other stats. As for the difficulty, it's pretty challenging. It was much more challenging than I anticipated. When I first tried it, I was kind of doing it blind, and it was just really tough to figure stuff out. So I thought a video where I go over some of the mechanics, and I don't really say, you know, how to address every single little thing, but I just kind of explain stuff to you and hopefully give you some advice in continuing your journey and earning your Mage Tower transmog. My Goblin is sporting hers today. Here we go. This is my Paladin clear. One thing to note is that it's important that if you're struggling to pull out all the stops, remember that you can use a lot of stuff in here. When it comes to consumables, you can use tomes if you want to switch talents. You can use food buff, oils, augment runes even, flasks, all that stuff. And you can see in this run I only had a flask on, but you can use as much stuff. The biggest ones I would say are probably flask, food buff, and drums. You can the Mage Tower for healers is a little bit more than, let's say, it's between like probably 12 and 15 minutes, and so you get two pretty good drums uses. And so yeah, having some drums is helpful. There may be some other useful Legion consumables that you can use, but that's all I had with me. So the first part is actually, I would say, the most challenging part, the very first area. So don't get too discouraged if you're struggling with stage 1, especially on some healers. I would say that in terms of difficulty, I would rank Mistweaver is probably the easiest, followed by Paladin, and then Shaman, and then maybe Druid, and then Holy Priest being the hardest. And Disc Priest has the DPS challenge, so I haven't done that one yet. But a lot of the difficulty is in this first part, and a lot of the difficulty is how unforgiving this part is. You need to get every single stop. You need to, you know, have everything on point. You need to line up all your cooldowns, and so just keep that in mind that you're gonna mess up like small little things, and you're gonna die, and that's okay. So let's play the footage. There's gonna be, I believe, 5 different waves here. They roll out different combinations of mages, archers, and rogues, I guess, or warriors. So these mages have a mechanic that creates this blue arrow, and you have to put your NPCs in between the mob and you, and it puts a debuff on whoever it hits. That debuff will drain mana, and that's why you want to put your friends in the middle. So now we meet the mage. The difficulty of the mage is that he has a cast that does damage. Now this cast, the damage varies depending on your class. So for example, if you're playing a shaman or a priest, you have an ability to interrupt or dispel, and therefore this buff and this cast is going to do way more damage. However, if you're playing on a paladin or a mistweaver where you don't have an interrupt, this cast is going to be significantly easier. So just keep that in mind depending on what class you're playing. And this pack right here is basically your test of being able to CC the mage and stop the mage from continuously casting. You need to lock it down for about, let's say, 10 to 12 seconds before it dies. And so with a shaman, you can kick and then purge. I forgot to mention the buff that it gets. So every time it casts a spell, it gets a buff that stacks, that increases the damage by a lot. So you need to, if you have the ability to, remove this buff. Again, if you're playing a paladin or druid or mistweaver, this doesn't do too much and you can let it stack up a little bit. If you're playing shaman or priest, you can never let this stack up. You almost need to immediately remove this or interrupt if possible. So the way I handle this pack is I just use a single target stun. If you have a 1 minute cooldown AoE stun, it's good to use here because in 1 minute you're going to need to use it again and you can't use it anywhere else. So something like Hajj or Leg Sweep or something even shorter like In-Cap Roar for Druid. You just want to stop that mage to drop his stack so then you can kill it. And then again, you're left with this Arbalest. Some healers are going to feel a little weak. Their damage is low and it can take a while to kill these guys. Remember that the next wave will spawn immediately when you kill a mob. So one thing that you may notice that I do is instead of finishing this mob and wasting my Hammer of Wrath and my Holy Power, I'm actually just going to run and prepare for the next pack. This is something that you can do, especially with these archers that jump around everywhere. So the next pack is going to be 2 mobs that you have to stop. This is the Soldier and the Mage. And this is where you're going to start to run into problems. So the Soldier has an ability called, I guess we'll just see it. It's like a Blade Flurry kind of thing. So my general strategy on Paladin is I just burst down this mage. If I was playing Shaman, I sort of like brute forced cooldowns because the next pack you're going to need an AoE stun. So you can't afford to AoE stun this pack is the short of it. So you're going to need to brute force through this pack in some way. And with Paladin, I decided to just wings and just try and blast this guy as fast as possible. So this cast here is Knife Dance, and you can use any single target stop you have available to you. So for Paladin, I use Turn Evil since these guys are undead. For Mistweaver, you can use just like Para or something. Priest can use Shackle Undead. Druid can be sad. May have to heal through it. And then I'm just going to burst down this mage. You can see as Paladin, you can get to 4 stacks or whatever, and it's not too bad. So the other mechanic this warrior has is a Fixate. He's going to target you and do a lot of damage. Because I'm a plate class and because I'm using Shield of the Righteous, it's not going to look like that much damage, but trust me, it is a lot, and you don't want to tank it. Depending on the class that you play, you need to find some way to run away from it. I found Monk Ring of Peace and Shaman Earth Grab Totem were really useful here. As a Paladin, I just sort of face tanked it with Shield of the Righteous, and I ran Beacon of Faith. So this Knife Dance as a Paladin, if you have any sort of spammable CC, either Turn Evil or Shackle Undead for a Priest, you want to stun that immediately every time it happens, especially when there's only just one guy. You never want to be eating that damage for no reason. And so again, you see what I'm doing here. I'm preparing for the next pack, and instead of just chasing this guy around, I'm positioning myself and preparing for the next pack. So now you can see this pack is 1 mage and 2 soldiers. So 3 abilities that we're going to have to stop, and we're absolutely going to have to use our AoE stop here. And for Paladin, this is Blinding Light. For Mistweavers, this is Sweep. For Priest, this is Fear. So what I like to do is I like to wait until the both of the Knife Dance casts finish, as well as the mage is casting, and then I throw out this blind. And then what you need to do is you need to focus down this mage because he's pretty squishy, and also you can't really afford very many stops since we just use more. So I will you want to focus down this mage ASAP. This is a good idea where you may want to just pop defensives if you're going to get fixated by these soldiers. They're going to hurt really bad. So you'll see one thing I do here is I pop Divine Purpose, is that what it's called? Whatever the Paladin wall is, and then I just blast these down. This part is a little bit of a struggle, and for some classes, if you find that you're running low on damage and you can't live this, you either need to pop a cooldown here or use drums so that you can eliminate one of these soldiers, because you're going to get another double knife dance and you're going to need some means to deal with this. I'm not sure what I do here. It looks like I turn evil, and not the cleanest run. You can see I'm struggling very big time here. I should have used something like Devo, or I had lay on hands and bubble, but maybe I was just comfortable enough with the damage that just stopping one was enough for me. And you can see here I also pop a little bit of cooldowns here to get this pack down. So the third pack and the fourth pack are going to be the troublemakers. The third, fourth, fifth, sorry. So now this pack is Mage, Arbalist, and Soldier, and I actually think this pack is easier than the previous. The previous one is definitely the hardest pack. This is the second hardest. And so this one, again, I'm going to go with the same strategy of focusing down the Mage, and we will hopefully have our, depending on the class that you play, you may have your AoE stop here again. If you're Priest, you may have Fear up, Leg Sweep may be up. Paladin blind is not. You can see it's 30 seconds or something, so I'm just going to focus down the Mage here. This is one where, again, you're going to need to use really heavy cooldowns here on this Soldier plus Mage and just blast through it. And once you kill the Mage, at this point you may be running very dry. You see me, I don't have, actually I have a lot here. Paladin I think is not the most challenging, but some of the other classes are. But at this point you may be really dry, so make sure you're just running away from this fixate and just trying to mitigate as much damage as you can. As soon as you kill these two mobs, you're going to be able to get mana and change talents and do whatever you need to do. And so you can take your time here and just run for your life. You can see I start using all my big cooldowns, my lay on hands and all that. I'd like to save bubble here personally as a paladin, but I save bubble and wings after I got confident with this part, but don't feel bad about just blowing every single cooldown that you have for a while here. So now we skip ahead. If you need to get a food, get mana here. I think I maybe used this time to get a food buff because I realized I didn't have one. And the next one is this eye room. And this room is going to be a bit complicated. You're going to lose your little friends. Looks like I decided to get a food buff again. What am I doing here? Okay, maybe I took a break, or maybe I was waiting for something. I don't know what I was doing. So the way this room works is it spawned these eyes everywhere, and the eyes do two things. They pulse damage in an area around them. And when you kill them, they blow up, and the blow up does a very large amount of your health, like in the neighborhood of like 75 to 80%. So you need to be topped or have a big defensive every time you blow one of these up. So depending on the class you play, how much range damage you have, it may be easier or harder. So with a class like Resto Shaman, where you have a lot of range damage, this can be pretty easy, and you can just nuke one down at a time and heal yourself. As a Paladin, it's easy because you can just bubble and kill some and not have to worry about it as much. As a Mistweaver, I struggled a little bit with this, so if you need to, take your time with this room. You're on a timer here. You do have 5 minutes for this area, and you have about a little over a minute in this room. So if you're taking like 2 minutes to clear the room, you might be a bit slow, but 1 minute is just fine. So my strategy with Paladin here is I just pop wings and I just start killing him. You can see that you can see how much damage this really does. It's hurting me really bad. It's doing like 70% of my health with Devo Aura. But this is all you do, is you just kill one, top yourself, and then you start doing damage to another. If you're playing a class that's melee, like a Paladin or a Mistweaver, you may want to decide to pop a defensive and just go in melee and blast them. They will do a lot of damage, and so you'll see I kind of pick off one by one. I'm being really patient here. I'm not, I'm sending Judgment or whatever on cooldown, and eventually once I start running out of once there's only a couple left, I kind of like do a circle around the room and just kill one at a time and top myself up. Remember, you can use any stuns or CCs or anything on those guys as well. If you want to use like a Ring of Peace or a whatever to knock them away, is fine. This room is pretty easy. You just have to kill these guys. It's a little bit of a damage check. You probably want to AoE down until you kill all the little guys, and then you kill the big guy. This room isn't super exciting, but one thing to note is there's, I would say, a harder DPS check coming up, so you don't want to use really any big cooldowns here or anything that you care about. there will be there'll be harder moments to come. So this is the room where I got stuck, where I had to actually look up and figure out what to do, because it's like, not, to me, it wasn't very intuitive. So you open the door. The first thing you want to do is dispel this guy. Even though he doesn't show up in your frames, you dispel this guy that's running around freaking out. And then also you heal up everyone on the stairs. You want to heal them up ASAP. I think they drain life over time. So the faster you heal them up, the less work you have to do and the less time that you spend. So you can see as a pally, I'm just spamming Light of the Martyr or whatever heal. It looks like maybe I haven't quite figured that out yet and I'm using Holy Light, but yeah, you can see this guy's almost, you know, I came way too close to letting him get low. So once you heal those three guys up, then you have this archer. This archer is the same one that you dealt with earlier, except for you have no friends to help you. You can use two different methods for this blue arrow, this mana sting. You can keep these people in the get them in the middle so that they soak the shot. You can also just stun this mob. In hindsight, it's probably faster to just stun this guy instead of staying out of melee. So if you have like a, you know, anything like a leg sweep or a hammer of justice or a cap totem or anything, just stun the cast and don't worry about, you know, this is a time loss to go behind all this. But yeah, this guy's pretty easy. We can skip ahead of him. He just, again, this is a guy where you don't want to use too many cooldowns because you have stuff that you're going to want to use later. After this, you have this weird room with these orbs. You want to hit the orbs. The orbs, if they die in one hit, and if they're alive and you touch them, they do a lot of damage. But if you just hit them, they die immediately. So as a pally, I throw like a Light's Hammer, and then I just kind of like one tap them as I'm running up. And now we're in the most difficult part of this section, which is 3 more of these eyes. These same eyes that will pulse damage and blow up when you kill them, as well as a mini boss here. And so with all the healers that I've played, I've found the best strategy was to kill the eyes and not try and do anything crazy like focus down the mini boss. It does take a lot of time, but I just wasn't able to live with these eyes. So what I do here is I use bubble to just run in and kill them just for time, but it's not necessary at all. You can do the same exact strategy that I used before. You can see I'm being really, I don't even know why. Okay, finally I used bubble. I've been holding on to it for 10 minutes or something, and I just run in and kill these real quick, and I don't even get the second one. So yeah, as you want to focus those down. So one thing this mini boss does is he spawns these little laser circle eyes. You just want to get away from those. He kind of spawns them in clumps, and if you just, as soon as he spawns a bunch, you just move to the other side of the room. The boss does use a cast here, and it does a medium amount of damage. It's not too scary. One thing I'd recommend is a shaman is Earth Ellie in this room. Earth Ellie is really good because it stops the eyes from coming towards you, and it also soaks up those casts, so you can just fully focus on blasting down the eyes. And you can see the timer does get pretty tight even on a Holy Paladin. There was some things that I could have done to go faster, but we persevere. And now we're on to the final, or second to final area. We have this little RP thing. This area is pretty easy. Remember, again, you can drink here and change talents and do whatever you want to do. I'm just gonna skip ahead. There's like a big long RP, and so now what happens, you get your friends back, but they're fighting each other, so there's gonna be light damage throughout your party. When this happens, you want to just use something really mana efficient and something that's time efficient as well. So something like Healing Rain that you can put down and set and forget, or just, you know, just any AoE heals that you can hit everyone at the same time to not have to worry about them as much. While this is happening, you have these 3 ghosts that spawn, and you have to heal them up. You want to heal them up ASAP. They are line of sight like right away when they spawn, but you basically need to put every single global into these ghosts or they'll run into the boss. On Paladin, I use like, you know, Word of Glory, Holy Shock, and then I'll just spam Light of the Martyr or whatever when they come in. You can also just use Lay on Hands if you're worried or whatever. And that's it. That's this whole phase. You have to do light healing on your party. You can see as a pally, I kind of try to move my beacons around a little bit, but I don't know how useful that is. And then you get these souls that spawn. So there was one weird thing that happened to me. Someone suggested that you want to not heal the last soul and it's sometimes like gets you in combat. So you can see the goal is to heal 8, but there's 3 per wave, so this last wave is going to have 1 last soul, and I think you just aren't supposed to heal that guy. But I don't think I had a bug one time where it kept me in combat the whole time. I don't know if that's, you know, how often that happens, but you do want to regain mana. Depending on the healer you're playing, spamming single target heals can be really mana draining. So you want to regain mana right here. You can see my combat drops before the final boss, and there's a little bit of an RP. So this boss has a couple interesting mechanics. The first one is that periodically he's going to jump on your head, and it's going to do damage to you, and it's going to leave a pool that does damage. And so the first thing you need to do is position yourself all the way on the corner of the room. This fight is going to take a while, and it's going to be an exercise in space management. So you just want to be far on the edge so that when he jumps on you, you save space. And while this is going on, I don't know what happened there. It seemed like something bugged out or something, and he didn't drop the puddle there, which is helpful of him. There he goes. Yeah, I'm kind of still trying to figure out what's going on. And so while this is happening, your guys just stand in the puddle, and I don't really understand this part. When I first started doing this, I was trying to like taunt the boss out to get them out, but you don't want to taunt the boss. You don't want to do anything. You just want to heal basically any range damage that you have, and then heal your guys. And the second mechanic that you have is a debuff that goes on you. It's called Ignite Soul. And after it expires, it takes your health. The more health you have, it deals damage to all of your party members. So if your health is at 100, it does an insane amount of damage. And if your health is at 0, it does almost no damage. So the goal of this fight is you need to keep all of your party members healthy while keeping yourself somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 to 50% health. You do not want to be above 50% health because it's going to make that detonate do more damage. So my plan here, you can see, is I just keep healing my team and I don't heal myself, and just be in control of your own health, if that makes sense. Now at this point, Bloodlust will come up. And so don't forget to Bloodlust here, because this fight will go the distance, very likely. So I believe it affects your teammates too, and it definitely affects your damage. So don't forget to pop drums or Bloodlust or whatever you have here, because this is where mine comes up and I press it right away. And so you can see my space management here. I'm trying to stay around, you know, 30-ish% health. You can't quite see the debuff. I'll try and point it out when it goes on me. I don't have very good tracking just because I, wasn't prepared for things in the Mage Tower. So you can see this debuff here. It has 7 seconds on it. So I'll take this leap and I'll like stand in the puddle a little bit. Maybe I won't. Okay, so it looks like my plan here as a paladin is I'm just spamming Light of the Martyr. Generally speaking, Light of the Martyr isn't a great spell to use to heal with because it sacks your health. However, because we want our health to be low, it's actually the perfect spell to use. So I decided not use the puddles very much to damage myself. Instead, I used Light of the Martyr to keep my health between 30 and 50%-ish. If you're playing another class, you may have to dip your toes in the puddle a little bit. Another thing you can do is if you're very healthy and you're struggling getting yourself down, for example, if you're playing like, Resto Shaman and you have a Cloudburst and it heals you, or Ascendance or whatever, and it heals you for a lot, you can bait the jump in the puddle in another puddle, right? Like I'm doing it on the very border, but you can literally just walk right into this one when you're really healthy and just eat it and just take a whole ton of damage and get yourself back low. And the whole time, remember to be doing your single target rotation here. It can get a little hectic and you can be taking a lot of damage when, your buddies are getting hurt and you're trying to manage your health and your brain is tiny, so it's hard. But don't forget to just keep spamming your single target DPS buttons, because it's gonna make the fight go from like super tight to something more reasonable. So again, you can see I'm just healing my teammates and cycling through my normal buttons. I had wings, then I had HA. As whatever healer you're playing, you can sort of use your defensives and use your heals. And this fight is basically rinse repeat. Once you get the hang of it, I would highly recommend tracking this debuff that you get in some means. The hard part of this fight is going to be when you get the debuff and then he jumps on you around the same time, because you're going to want to be high health when he jumps on you because you're going to take damage, but at the same time you want to be low. So just be ready to like pop defensives there. Like those are the ideal situations when you see that he's going to jump on you and your debuff is going to run out. That's where I like to just press my astral shift or my DP or my bubble or whatever. And you can see that I'm being reasonably clean with my jumps. I'm not overlapping any, but I'm, you know, being careful with them, and we're almost all the way fully around the room. And I've used Lust, I've used Wings, I've DPS the boss. We're still at this point where things are getting a little scary. Again, remember at this moment, don't forget to use literally everything in your toolkit. You have health potions, you have mana potions, you have intellect potions, drums, again, if that comes up, you know, whatever buttons you have, it's going to get tight in the end, so make sure you do not forget to use buttons. If there's anything you have, like, you know, Earth LE to do a little bit more damage, that should come up, or, you know, whatever. Don't forget to use your buttons, because that's what's going to kill you, is you're going to be like, oh, I was so close, and then you're going to look and you had something that you could have used. So I start, I get very, very close to dying there, but I had the debuff that was expiring soon, so that's why. And my Wings comes back up, and I'm just DPSing. Again, you can still, now I'm sort of doing like a small mini circle around here. And yeah, it's surprising how tight this is, given, like, I felt like I played this pretty well, and I'm just like full DPSing the entire time. And here you might see me run in the, the pool. Okay, nope. So I just do it totally classic. Again, this is with 0 overlaps. If you're ever, you know, if you feel like you're running out of time, or you whatever, you know, don't be afraid to just, like, when he's about to jump on you, just heal yourself up, run out, and then just put the puddle here and then run back in so you're not taking damage. And yeah, it was very, very, very close. That's it. That's my walkthrough on how to do the healer mage tower. Hopefully that was helpful for whatever spec you played, and it wasn't as simple as just like a, you know, use this spell here, use this spell here, use these talents. You know, hopefully I won't spoil all the fun and you'll be able to figure some of that stuff out for yourself. So anyway, thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys, and happy Legion time walking, friends.